Welcome back to the special coverage of Nigeria's presidential elections 2023 here on Arise TV. At this point, it will be appropriate to usher in our first pair of analysts, Emmanuel Efeni and Kadiria Ahmed. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Rose.
Good morning, Kadiria.
Good morning, Kadiria.
Good morning.
And good morning, Nigerians.
Absolutely.
Nigeria.
Well, you've seen that
vote wisely.
Well, we've had a feel of what is happening in Kano, in Adamawa, in Anambra. Shortly, our correspondent in Lagos, who's covering where Asiwaju, the candidate of the APC, will be voting. I will bring us report from Alausa, where we'll be voting. But what's your assessment generally? The D-Day is here, the die is cast.
Look, Steve, let's be honest, it's a good day for Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Okay, we are about to go into elections, 24 years successive, uninterrupted transference of power from one democratic government to the other. Right? So that in itself is brilliant, right? But even more, I think, significant for us in this election is that Nigerians haven't given up on Nigeria, right? People believe in this country, and so they're engaging with the politics of this country. There was a time when we could not say that, right? Because there was apathy, but from all indications, people are going to come out for this particular vote. We saw the queues already in places like Kano, in places like Anambra. So people are engaged with the process, and that's a good thing because only an engaged populace can actually build a nation, and we desperately need for Nigeria to be built. The second thing is, this is the first election, I think, where majority of people genuinely believe their votes will count. Nobody is talking about, oh, they're going to rig us out. The improvements we've seen using tech, means that people have a bit of confidence in the process. And so that's another thing. We're not saying that, oh, they're going to rig, they're going to this. We're saying, oh, we're going to go out and vote. So for me, these are all wins, and is why we should be celebrating. And if you think about the rumors about, oh, they were going to postpone, they were going to cancel, we are here today. So overall, I think today is an amazing day for all of us, regardless of who emerges. If the process is credible, if we don't see violence mar the polls, if we don't see any attempts at voter suppression, people are allowed to come out and vote, I think Nigeria will be the winner, regardless of who wins, because that means our democracy is maturing. We are improving our processes, and people are beginning to genuinely believe that their votes will count. So it's a good thing,
So it's a lot about INEC, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But the thing is that, look, all credit to Professor Mahmoud and his team. But the truth is that we've seen this progressive improvement. So he's building on the work that Jega did, right?
That's right.
Jega built on what other people were doing. So it's a process. What you hope is that we had hoped that process would be what we'll see in Nigeria itself, where, things keep getting better. Alas, I think there are those who will argue that we've had periods of regression. But that's why we're here now, right? To decide who we think is going to be best positioned to take us forward and help us, basically develop our nation and build it into something that we can be proud of. People have jackpot, but people have also stayed. And they're engaging with the process, and they're determined to have a say in what happens to their country. That, for me, is the biggest thing about this election.
Now that you actually mentioned jackpot, I mean, the diasporans or people in diaspora, I think we bring in at least maybe $10 billion.
Yes. And they're very upset that they are not voting.
And I can't understand why.
Well, I think it's a process. I wouldn't be surprised.
But shouldn't that be automatic?
I think in 4 years, you'll be surprised, having sort of cleaned up the way we vote locally. The attention of the Electoral Commission will probably turn into how you can now get people who are outside Nigeria to
because
engage.
It's important that they vote.
They will. I think it's a matter of time.
When we win silver cup.
Tweaking the electoral
No, but when we win medals, we are quick to say we are Nigerians. We are quick to raise the flag.
We will get there.
Do you understand?
Let me bring in Emmanuel. Emmanuel, Kadiria mentioned something about the fact that in 24 years, this is a success. But in 24 years, this is the second time that a sitting president will be handing over to another one. Obasanjo did it in 2007. Then Buhari is about to do it. What do you read into this? How, yes, success on the one hand, but then is this democracy in action?
Well, today is E-Day, Election Day in Nigeria. And we can also congratulate ourselves that we've gotten to this point. Given all the background, will there be election? Will there be postponement? Is there an ING being conquered somewhere? International government? So today is election day, and we should celebrate it. 87,209,007 registered voters who have collected their PVCs will go out there and elect the next president of Nigeria, who will take over from President Muhammadu Buhari on May 29, 2023.
Absolutely.
Now, this is indeed, it will be the third time a sitting president is handing over to another person.
Yes.
Obasanjo handed over to Yaradua, and of course, Jonathan.
Well, you're correct.
handed over to Buhari in 2015,
Yeah.
having been defeated in an election. So we are making progress. And today, for the first time in 8 years, Muhammadu Buhari, the president, will be sitting easy somewhere, not bothering whether he will win or not. He's been doing that for a very long time. But today, he will just be another voter on the, among the electorate. So today is the 24th anniversary of the first election under this dispensation, where we elected former President Olusegun Obasanjo as president. Now, the issue of security, which had been a major issue, between 2022 leading up to early February, over 100 attacks on INEC facilities and security facilities across the country, of course, with more of that happening in the southeast. But the police, the lead security agency on election day, has assured us, the Inspector General of Police has assured all Nigerians that today security will be provided. Of course, the Chief of Defense Staff had to wade in at some point speaking that anybody who steps out there to make trouble will be taken care of.
Was that necessary?
Decisively.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it is.
No,
It is.
because, of course, a number of people raised eyebrows when they saw the Chief of Defense Staff addressing...
Because we are not at war, are we?
And the Inspector General of Police by his side. But that is what it is. Perhaps drastic situations like this require some drastic
or at least when you see
input.
uniformed men around,
yes.
it will
So-
give some sense of normalcy and some sense of security.
It gives sense of over-militarization.
Yes,
to some other people.
but the most important thing is that at the polling units, you won't see any soldier there.
Okay.
So people are not intimidated. They are far away from the polling units, where we'll have at least 2 policemen.
But that's INEC is in charge of that.
Yes,
That's
no,
under INEC.
that is the duty of the police. They will be in charge of the polling units. You won't see any soldier
security
there.
at the polling
Yes,
units.
security at the polling units. They will be in charge. And that in itself, so the issue of militarization does not necessarily come in. It's only those who want to make trouble who face the military at some point. But for the electorate, as the troopers, they will not be encountering soldiers. They will be meeting with policemen who are not even armed. They don't carry arms to the police units just to maintain order. 310,000.
But they're the ones wearing the blue uniform. They're not wearing their usual...
Yes, they have a new uniform.
Yes, they have a uniform for that.
Blue camouflage, right? Yeah. So they have a new uniform.
Yeah.
I think many Nigerians are familiar with that uniform. It's not a strange occurrence. And 310,973 policemen would be on duty, in addition to 93,133 other security personnel, customs, immigration, NDLEA, and of course the Road Safety Corps. They will also be there to assist, bringing that total of security men available for the polling units across the country to 404,106 security personnel. Of course, that excludes the military and the DSS, who are also taking positions just to maintain peace across the country. So Nigerians will be rest assured. The election will kick off at 8:30.
8:30.
That is the time.
That is important.
So,
yeah.
of course, in a place like Kano, you can see enthusiasm. People are already there, according to our reporter on ground, since 6 a.m. because they want to be part of the process.
Okay.
And I'm sure in other parts of the country, we have similar enthusiasm.
Kano has the second largest number of voters, by the way, after Lagos.
After Lagos. Yes, and Kano has a history of coming out to match their number. Unlike Lagos in the past, we have 6 million voters. The highest you've had in Lagos is about 1.6 million.
Anyway, I want to ask Kadri a question. You know the NSAS thing, I mean, it's etched in everybody's memories. It's not a date anybody can forget for a lifetime. And I think what makes this election even more exciting is the fact that this is not a two-horse race anymore. There's actually a third force, and maybe a fourth force, but it's different from what we normally are used to.
People,
and then I wanted to even ask that
people say that, but we've had races where there have been 3 candidates, that as considered leaning.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, but my question is that do you feel that the NSAS incident has given the youth more confidence?
Well,
to ensure that their voices are heard more this time around?
I think what we can say for a fact is that they've realized that they can play a role in determining the direction Nigeria, follows. And that's why I said, these elections, if you have to, regardless of whether he wins these elections or not, we have to thank Mr. Peter Obi, because he did ignite a certain segment and a certain part of Nigeria that traditionally were sort of apathetic towards elections. So for that, we have to be grateful, because unless the people engage with their country, then it's unlikely that you'll be able to get nation building done properly. Having said that, it is important to note that the youth vote has actually declined in 2023.
Ironically,
by almost 5 million, right? So in 2019, you had more people registered to vote that were the age of 18 to 34. That number, if you look at INEC figures, has declined by about 5 million. Nobody knows. I would speculate, my speculation would be maybe people who became older than entered the sort of 35-year bracket are sort of slightly more than those who became 18. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. But 5 million, is a substantial number of people. So sometimes when we talk about data, we're enthusiastic, and because we are, and it's a good thing, but we don't interrogate some of it. So there are 5 million less 18 to 35-year-olds voting than did in 2019. That's if they all come out.
That's right.
Because, it's also a question of people collect and don't come out. The second thing is those numbers of young people, those young people are actually domiciled mostly in the north of the country. Okay. So with Plateau having the sort of highest number of young voters of something like 50.1%, right? And in Adamawa 46.1, and then the rest of the states, Lagos has the lowest with about 26.1. But when you hear the conversation in public media,
because that's the perception.
You wouldn't assume, because some people don't have sort of
especially on social media.
On social media.
One would have thought that it would have increased a lot more.
But I take the good of it, which is that you have the majority of young people are sort of now engaged in the process. They understand the power that they have. They understand that they can make a difference, and they are engaging. Without that engagement, I think we could continue to do same old. So there's an energy that they've brought to this, election. There's an enthusiasm that I hope is sustained beyond these particular elections, and we keep building on it until, such a time where it becomes part of our civic culture that we're always involved and we're always engaged.
I'll come back to that in a bit, but Emmanuel, I see that you...
I think for the first time, the electorate is spoiled with options.
For the first time?
Because if you look from...
More so now than before.
1999 despite the fact that registration of political parties has become very easy. You have so many parties on the ballot. But to be very serious, it's always been more or less a two-horse race. And it's a throwback from the military era. Recall that when Babangida, former President Ibrahim Babangida, decreed 2 political parties into existence.
SDP and NRC.
He based his idea on some scholarly inputs that, Nigeria is better off as a 2-party state instead of regional big parties. And As a carryover from that, the first election under this dispensation, Obasanjo, Falaye, two political parties, major political parties, AD and APP, had to come into alliance and collapse their structure on one person. It was a two-horse race. And that has been the trend, irrespective of the number of political parties. Two major candidates is either A or B. That's how it has been.
But over the years, but for the first,
no, other parties are always there.
Like APC,
with due respect to the smaller parties.
Yes, the time they were 70.
Yes, let's just call them the smaller parties for want of a better word.
Yes.
They've not been making any impact, as you can see. And INEC has been deregistering some of these parties after election. But for the first time in recent memory, we have 4 solid candidates. We don't know who will emerge tops today. But what we have seen on the campaign trail, huge following, the 4 political parties, PDP, APC, Labour, and NNPP. They've had huge following, the kind of crowd you used to see in the Second Republic, NPN.
Exactly. Do we have the ghost of Second Republic?
Yes. I have a theory about that crowd.
Yes, no.
About which crowd?
The crowd that you see.
We'll come to the crowd. No, Kadira, whatever you want to
say when they go on the campaign trail.
No, hold on.
I'm suggesting it's the same people that show up for APC, that show up for PDP, that show up for...
How come they don't show up for the smaller parties?
But you can't lie about that. So that has actually crossed my mind too as well.
Because if some people, this is the only point in their life where they are going to have, if you like, let's call it dividends of democracy.
Yeah, but I didn't give them anything.
You're talking about the mobilization.
Yes.
No, but Kadira, at least for the first time, we have 4 parties that can mobilize in that way.
No,
I'm
not disputing that at all.
So there are 4 parties that were able to mobilize, but the real test of that mobilization will be seen today. And that is the fact that Nigerians have a choice. And for whatever, look at the 4 candidates. These are solid guys. Whoever wins today must have worked hard for it.
I want to ask
that's the thing. Nobody will win these elections and say it came easy.
Yeah.
No. I'm even curious. Do you think at the last card check that some of them might have a plan B?
What do you mean?
Like, like maybe one party or one candidate can talk to another candidate if they see the way...
But it's too late for that.
It's too late for the election day.
If that was not done before Thursday...
You would just confuse your voters if you start giving them
there were suggestions and indications of alignment, but here we are. Nobody's voting for...
Perhaps what will happen if we don't have a winner in the first ballot?
That's what I'm saying.
Then perhaps
that was why I asked that
alignment and realignment.
First ballot.
At a runoff.
Yes.
If there's a runoff.
So there's a little bit of misinformation about the runoff that is out there. And I said if I got an opportunity, I will correct it. So most people assume if you have a runoff, automatically the first 2 candidates will go into the runoff. That's not the case.
The law say?
But what does the law say?
That's not the case. That's not the case. So the law says the first person with the highest votes
highest number of
automatically will go as the candidate 1 for the. But the second person might not necessarily be the person who comes
with the
second in numbers. It is actually someone who not just widest, it's majority, which is over 50%. So the person who has won over 50% of the votes in the most states.
Okay.
Will then become the second person.
Even if he doesn't have the
highest number
of votes.
Yes. If he has over 50, so if you look at people who are dominating their regions, like a Peter Obi, right? There is a real possibility if it goes to a runoff that he'll be the second candidate on that ballot paper. Not necessarily the person who comes second in the first round. Because you need to get at least 50%, what is called a majority, at least 50% in more states.
You're trying to send
50% in
hopeful vibes to
No, I'm just telling you. No, because I'm telling you what the law says. I'm telling you what the law says. So if today you, me, and Ruth go into this competition, I have the highest votes, followed by Ruth, and then you come third, right?
Yeah.
I automatically, as the person with the highest votes, goes into a runoff. Right?
Yes.
But it's not necessarily Ruth. Unless Ruth, in addition to having the highest votes, also has more states where she's won over 50%. If you have more states where you've won 50%, then you go into the runoff with me. That's the law.
What is the situation that can lead to a runoff?
So the Constitution is very clear about how you win these elections.
Yes.
First, you have the highest number of votes. Again, not the majority, because sometimes people confuse that. Majority means over 50%. Highest means even if you win by one vote.
It doesn't necessarily have to be 50%.
Yes, it can be one vote ahead. So
Yes.
the highest number of votes, that's the first condition. The second condition is that you must win 25% votes
In 24
across
states.
two-thirds of
Two-thirds of the
Nigeria's
states,
36 states, which is 24 states, plus it is
FCT.
an and FCT.
You must win FCT.
You must win at least 25% in FCT.
Okay.
So even if you win those 24 states, you have 25%, but you don't get 25% in FCT, there's a problem.
Wow. But that has just been an added one. That has just been included.
That is your constitution.
That is the constitution.
That is your
That's the
constitution.
constitution.
And I'll give you the section of the constitution so you can go and check. That's your
That's
constitution.
the constitution,
Yeah,
actually.
that's your constitution.
Well-
Emmanuel, yes. I mean, it is 87 million, right?
Yes,
That's the
it
number
Yeah, so
of
just
places
for
connected.
people who are
87,209,000.
watching,
Let-
this section, yeah, for those checking who want to go and
Please
look
check.
at it,
Yes.
it's section 134
Okay.
of
Of
the
the electoral.
1999,
Of the electoral
1999 constitution,
Constitution.
which talks about second round and third
Okay.
round and all of that.
Section
so
what
we
again?
could take 134.
134.
We could technically go to a third round, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yes. So if your first round doesn't produce a winner
So
that
first round,
has the
you are
spread.
the winner. You have the most votes, and you've gotten more than 50% in.
No, first round you win outright if you get the most votes and you have your spread.
Okay, and then this.
If nobody
at
gets it and you still have popular votes, you don't win it.
Does that apply to the second person that comes into follows you?
So the second person is decided based on whether they win majority votes in majority states, and that's over 50%.
majority votes in majority states. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
right. So those two go to a second round. The conditions are exactly the same required of the second round. You must win majority votes and also have the spread.
But this time it's just two parties.
Yes, just two
competing.
parties. If at the end of that,
Yeah.
you still don't have a winner, then you go into a third round where a simple majority will determine the president. So the requirement for spread
Yes.
is removed when you get to the third round.
Looking at the strength of let's say the top three candidates or parties, do you see the possibility of a runoff at all?
I think so.
I honestly do.
You do?
But everybody from Labour, APC, PDP have done their best to try and convince me that they're going to win it.
But if what do you think?
Today is not a day to make projections. We just
No,
wait.
something else
Yes.
is not going to be an easy.
We
go
just
in there
wait.
and the results
We
are
just
coming
wait for
out.
the electorate to decide
I think
at
we'll
the
have a
end of
second
the day.
round.
But you cannot rule out because the way the candidates have campaigned.
Yeah.
There was a report we did some time ago which says it's like back to 1979
79,
when
83.
UPN taking the west, southwest, NPN, the northwest. Of course, there was an Aminu Kano that was holding Kano out of the reach of NPN. And of course, Nnamdi Azikiwe holding the east.
NPP.
Of course, there was Waziri Ibrahim of the GNPP holding the northeast, as it were. If you look at the candidates, you can see semblance of southwest stronghold, southeast stronghold, somebody who is strong in the north. And so that possibility is just there in the air. But Nigerians will tell us at the end of the day whether somebody will emerge by the end of tomorrow, latest Monday
I think
morning.
there's just so many
think we'll have a
variables.
second
You can't also rule away, some of the impact of the fact that you don't have an incumbent running.
Exactly.
That also matters,
It's
right?
a factor, right?
Yes, it's a factor. The fact that there's no sitting president, and I think by and large, this president, to a certain extent, has tried hard not to be seen to be too enthusiastic for any one particular person, regardless of what people
Well,
say.
that's debatable. Some people feel a bit biased about that.
He has a candidate.
Well,
He's a party. Except you don't.
And he's been on the soapbox
He was
campaigning
very
for
clear about
party
it.
candidate.
You know what they say about
So it's
body
a question of
language
maybe
and
that.
interpretation.
Sit on
But
that.
I think the fact that you don't have a sitting president is significant,
Yes.
right? I think the
So
fact
no
that
incumbency factor,
yes,
as it were.
And It's a fair playing ground.
Unfortunately, we also have a country that has fault lines, and some of them are also reflected in these candidates.
Okay.
So, for the first time, you have an Igbo man running for, the top job alongside a Yoruba man and two people from the north, right?
That's true.
So it's a reflection of what are considered the sort of three major tribes in Nigeria. So whether we like it or not, sadly,
yes,
there's a way in which ethnicity will play some role. I'm not saying it's the only factor, but we can't lie to ourselves and pretend that it's not an issue, right?
That's right.
The same thing with religion. Because, we've got a ticket that is Muslim, and this is not the time of Tofa and MKO. Nigeria has sort of drifted, a bit further away from sort of that level of unity that we see. So, religion is a factor. We have seen campaigns in churches, we've seen campaigns in mosques. I'm not sure that is necessarily a good thing. The only reason why I'm kind of enthusiastic about this election is that I think we're cleaning up our electoral process. And so votes are going to count. And what that means is that as you go forward, people are going to become a little bit more confident about the process and know that they can actually make a big difference. And hopefully when that happens, you will begin to see people begin to campaign on issues. That's my prayer.
Okay, that's my point actually when I said I was going to come back to you. Do you think that Nigerians, particularly the youth, that they are sufficiently informed about what the candidates, are promising, given the fact that this is the first election in 24 years in which the candidates, all the top candidates, won't go into a debate?
So I am...
And knowing the role that you have played.
I did see your hand this time around.
I did. You were not watching. I spoke to them. I did my debates. Yes, I did. I did my town halls. They were not debates. I did my town
that's why I said debates.
Yeah. So here...
You did a town hall? That was different.
I did town halls. I spoke to Peter Obi, Kwankwaso, PRP, Kola Abiola, SDP, Prince.
But we missed the debates, especially.
Yeah, so both Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, he declined outright, said he's not going to do it.
Atiku?
Yes, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu said to me, give me a new time. And in the end, we couldn't find the periods that worked. But I am extremely disappointed with the sort of quality of conversations I've seen these people having. I think to a certain extent, I have to even blame us, the media, right? Because we have an agenda-setting role, right? And sometimes we allow ourselves to be too much directed by social media and the noise on social media. And so we sometimes allow them to set the agenda for the conversation we're having.
But you can't force them if they don't want to come.
I'm not talking about coming. I'm talking about the media as agenda setters of the sort of conversations we'll be having about the people who seek to lead us. I would have loved to see a lot more coverage on sort of the actual issues, the promises they're making, their manifesto, what they're promising Nigerians, and a little bit less on all the controversial, big, massive issues that in many ways sidetracked the event. Because let's be honest, there's no angel among these four. I'm sorry.
There's none.
Kadira, are you sure it's not because they've
I'm
not
sorry.
because they did not really promise so much?
Let me finish.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be back soon. So we're going on break now, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
All right, that's the candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, registering in Yola, Adamawa State to vote in today's presidential election. Atiku Abubakar in Yola, Adamawa State, PDP candidate.
The process is. I'm curious.
Well, I mean, it starts at 8:30.
I'm saying what is doing now.
Once it registers, I think what the law says is that this time around, the process is that you collect the ballot papers immediately after the accreditation, and then you go into the polling booth.
Yes.
Accreditation, and then you go into the polling booth and you cast your vote.
Yeah, but is it less than a minute? Is it timing of the process? I want to know how long it takes to accredit the whole program.
It's a beaver thing. But we will see. We will see from what is going on.
I reckon it will be about 5 minutes.
No, 5 minutes is long.
Individual.
Yeah,
No,
because
that's
technology
too long,
can fail. You know, how many
It's about
times do
technology.
you...
When you have about 500 people queuing up, it cannot be 5 minutes to one person.
But we can see, we will see how long it will take.
I'm saying to you that it's
it
possible.
won't be less than 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
Even that is long. It should have been done in such a way where it should not be more than 30 minutes to 1 minute. 30 seconds to 1 minute.
It's not
It's
feasible.
technology.
Well, as long
Not.
as the Beavers machine recognizes the
Exactly.
biometric of Atiku
It's still an
Abubakar.
improvement
Yes.
on the old card
It's
reader.
an improvement, but you have to think about the people that are in the sun.
Okay, you're talking about the ideal, but here, this is the reality.
Well, but 5 minutes is long, sir. 5 minutes is long.
Let's
But
see. Let's
I'm
see how it
just
goes.
guessing. It's not
Yeah.
that I know that it's 5 minutes, but I reckon just thinking about the process, because if you're talking about the process, it's not just the accreditation. It's also get ballot paper, go vote. So I
Yes.
think it's the whole thing.
But
Because you
the
also
entire thing
you
before
vote
you
for
drop.
president, you vote for senator, you vote for House of Reps.
Yes.
So you're doing 1, 2,
Two,
3.
three, 4. But an
And
INEC
then you are
official said
folding,
yesterday-
and then you're throwing in the
An
box.
INEC official said yesterday that they're estimating maximum 1 minute. Ideally, they want 2 people, 30 seconds per person, but ideally 1 minute per
For
person.
the accreditation itself,
Yes.
or for the voting as well.
I think both
It has to be the
It
accreditation.
can be. It can be.
It
for
has to be
both.
the accreditation.
Because you
Yeah,
know
okay.
there are 18 candidates. You take your time to be sure that
But you
you are
already know
voting
where
for
you're
your
going.
right.
Coming from the
If you
time-
have no problem with your biometrics
Exactly.
or your face recognition,
And yes.
then it shouldn't take more than
It shouldn't
1
take.
minute.
Yeah, exactly.
To do
It
that.
shouldn't. It
Yeah,
shouldn't.
but 30
Not-
seconds each. Just
Not everybody
No,
will
but
be,
1 minute
will be
is
like
But we're
Emmanuel
looking at, if you,
or Ruto
if you
Silva.
look at it,
There
yeah.
will be the elderly who will be voting. There will be those who.
No, but Steve, we have to be realistic about this thing, because if you let somebody wait in the sun for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, they might go back.
No, they won't wait for 5, 7 hours.
Well, if
By
you
individual.
have 500 people and
Yeah.
like Andrea says, it takes 5 minutes. How many minutes? How many hours is that already?
It's just 1 day in 4 years.
It's 1 day. For
And
us, but they're
anyway,
human beings.
we were looking at, if you look at what has happened with Waziri, so accreditation took him maybe about 1.5 minutes.
Okay.
But it's taking him a bit longer
Yes.
to vote.
Yeah,
I
but that's because he
suspect
has
though,
entourage.
that's what I'm saying, that
Yeah,
I suspect it's
entourage.
because people are getting in
well,
the way. So
Kadria, Mary
he has
Chinda
finished
is actually
voting.
there. Let's
Okay.
speak to Mary so that we have a better understanding of what's going on. Mary, yes, we can see on our screen Alhaji Atiku Abubakar having the accreditation and is about to vote. What is the process like? It looks a bit rowdy. Is it just Atiku Abubakar, or he's got a few people with him who are also voting at the same time? Mary.
He was actually on AP around just about 2-3 minutes ago. Had to go to the voters register and found out that his name was number 621 on the voters register. And then, of course, the accreditation process, you can see he and his wife, Titi Abubakar, and they had to go through the Beavers accreditation process. And they're actually working, on getting him accredited with the Beavers. And that is he's about casting his vote himself and his wife. It's a little rowdy here. Various media houses trying to, get a clip of him casting his vote alongside his wife, Titi Abubakar.
Okay, Mary, what's the situation for those who have registered, who have accredited and voted before him?
Has just cast his vote, and we'll talk about the lead. Let's see if we can catch up with him very quickly to say a word or two.
Yeah,
Now,
that would
what
be
he
great.
thinks about the exercise.
Okay.
You can see he's just about coming out.
Okay,
so-
we're sure that he will have a word or two for the media. So just
Yes,
position
yes.
yourself
I'm
well.
just right here. I'm just right here. I'm going to do it.
All the rules are broken.
Imagine if it's singular people without this entourage, we'll move much
Okay,
faster.
I think Atiku, the candidate of the PDP, is about to say a few words to the media. All right. All right, we lost Mary there.
Yes, but you can-
I'm sure that she'll be back. But
But the
we
good
can
thing was
see-
that I
yeah.
noticed that it happened. The process was quite quick.
So let me say something, and I think this is probably going to be the case with literally all the leading candidates, the 4 of them. I have a problem with people who lead this country being the first to break laws. Right? INEC regulations around elections are very clear. You can't take your phone, you can't have cameras, you can't do everything. For once, I'd like to see leaders lead by example. If you want Nigerians to respect what INEC has set down for a reason, right? Then you lead by example, right? I'm fully expecting the same level of interest I saw with him and cameras and everything with all the other candidates. And you would have thought it would be nice for them to just...
the candidate of the PDP is speaking now, says he would like to see improvement.
But it would have been nice if he himself even used his hand, gesticulations, to sort of direct them and tell them to hold back. You know? Like Kajara said, it makes sense, because if already before the election process, you're already breaking the law.
But not when the media is also struggling
but
to get
the media should know better. No, it's not about him talking. I don't have a problem with him talking. I have a problem with cameras looking down as he's voting.
Did you see?
Yes, he was. They were there, and the law says you're the only person that should go to your ballot paper and all of that. No, I hear you. So this is about signaling. It's not so much about the details of it, it's about signaling.
I understand.
Right? If you want people to, it's a bit of like the way they
set an example.
Yes, it's the way like they break traffic light laws, you know, with their convoys. You want everybody to respect, you know, traffic lights, but you then come and you go through a red light. So it's the signaling. And I think part of what we need now are leaders who basically will lead by example.
But isn't that why we also have the security apparatus that has been put around?
With
to curtail such from the onset, even with the candidate coming, the security personnel or whatever it is that we've put in place should have been able to hold everybody at bay.
No, they have their own security details around them.
Yeah, but my point is, at this point in time, like Kadera just said now, that everybody's surrounding him, the whole place, the whole process has now been thrown out of the window just because the candidate is coming.
And I think
why can't we have people
even
that will
say
put
that
things in
candidates
place
and VIP shouldn't
keep a
come
distance?
with their assistants.
Well, I think VIP, no VIP, but perhaps
you can't be bigger than the rules of the country.
That's what he's saying. You can't be bigger. Yes, you can't be bigger than.
Because that is a recipe for us to continuously undermine the rule of law. And like, no country can, you know, afford to do that. But we see it in Nigeria.
And as a core candidate, you're already setting a bad example, even by starting this.
Part of what I was hoping.
But like I said, it's important to say that I fully expect to see the same thing across all of them. So this is not us pointing fingers.
Hospital zone has crowded.
No, he
hasn't gone to vote yet.
He
just came out to say hi to people.
What I was hoping that Mary will explain to us was the situation before Atiku arrived. You know, if people have voted before him, how was it like? How many people have voted before him? How long did it take each person, you know, to get accredited?
Because we can't use Atiku's own to judge.
Exactly, because it will be a bit, you know.
But from what we saw, I think it took about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. So what do you think?
That's not, that's not too bad, even though for a candidate like that.
No, we're saying if he takes 2-3 minutes, that means a normal person
should take lower time.
That's what I'm trying to estimate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Well, you can certainly see that there's a lot of enthusiasm. People are out. And that for me is
people are out. But can you see people queuing? See people queuing?
Yeah.
So those ones now can be there for the next 3-4 hours, is what you're saying?
The queue is actually to get accredited. And once you're accredited, the forms are handed over to you and you go to the polling.
It's not like before where you do accreditation, then
you
come
go
back.
home. Exactly. You know, the forms will be handed over to you and you go to the polling unit and vote.
Okay.
My concern is the situation of the polling booth itself, you know, because it looks to me like it's not protected.
Right.
You know, maybe because it is the candidate, maybe when it is individual, because you are really not expected to have people, you know, milling around you and saying
because
what you're doing.
The reason why that privacy matters and why I thought signaling it would matter is that you don't want people intimidated or polling day and, you know, because of that lack of privacy be forced to vote a certain way. People's votes should be their personal,
privacy,
Yes, you know. And I think that's why INEC also said we shouldn't take cameras. Because there was a rumor that at some point people used to get induced.
That's right.
And then they had to prove.
What do you mean induced? Induced how?
Induced.
They snap their votes and go and use it to go and collect the money.
Yeah, so if they take a picture and then it's based on what they take back that they get settled.
Okay.
Yes,
so
that's why INEC came up with the
tidying
rule.
up all these things, there's
No phone should be taken into the voting cubicle.
because you see, it's
right.
the integrity of the poll
right.
that we're trying to protect, and that's why I think the signaling
I'm sure
by the
there will
candidates.
still be one or two loopholes.
Yeah,
that
so
they
the
can work their way
signaling
around.
is, what I think matters, because
Yes.
if we're talking about, protecting the
After all, when we said that,
sanctity
when
of the vote.
this Naira currency was changed, it was all to reduce vote buying and what have you. But think about it.
No, that's just one of the reasons.
I know one of the reasons, but even if that's one of the reasons, we are now buying Naira. Like I can call you now, Steve, your head, so what's the Naira saying now? The way we used to do with dollars. No, but that's what is happening.
That's a story for another day.
No, my point is that if you have that, if that is in the picture,
Yes.
and people don't have access.
All right, let's speak with Mary. Mary is now ready to speak with. Hello, Mary. Were you able to get the candidates of the PDP, Atiku? Mary, if you can hear me, how did he go with the candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar?
Oh, well, it was quite, in his words, it was quite a seamless process for him. He spoke to the media, and when we asked him this same question, he was saying that it was quite a seamless process for him, but maybe because he is the one who is involved, he's not sure it would be as seamless as that for other people who are actually going to be voting here. Now, he came, he had to find his name. He was number 61 on the voters register, and of course he had to go through the Beavers accreditation process, and he had to cast his vote. He was in company of his wife Titi Abubakar, just like I had updated earlier. Just a couple of other questions that were being asked him by journalists. We asked him about what he felt about his chances in this election, and he said that he was very optimistic of himself and his party winning today's polls at the federal level. And then we also asked him about what he thought about the Naira redesign policy, and he said that he thinks that it was just a policy to curtail vote buying and to ensure that the process of voting is actually free, fair, and credible. That's about all of the chats that we were able to have with Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, just as he came to cast his vote at this polling center in Yola North.
I want to quickly ask, how long was the process from when he came and when he left? How long was the process of the casting of the votes? Can you hear me? Hello, Mary, can you hear me?
I hear you.
I said, how long was the process from when the candidate came to cast his vote and register his vote? How long was the process?
I hear you.
You can't hear me.
Okay, Mary. Okay. All right, Mary couldn't hear, but I mean, from what she said earlier, that it was, the candidate agreed that it was seamless, and what would have been interesting to know is the people before Atiku Abubakar. How was it?
Yes, and the 61 people already
And I mean, he alluded to that and said it was seamless for him, but he doesn't know whether that's because he's the candidate. Exactly. But is nobody going to comment on Mary's ninja moves?
No, my dear. It was like
I was waiting for how she would deal with the vehicle.
The level of awareness it requires to be talking to us and be using the corner of her eye to see who is trying to cross the camera.
Absolutely.
I have a great admiration for correspondents who are on the ground.
Absolutely.
It takes a lot of skills.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that Atiku made a reference towards the change of the Naira, which is what I was discussing with you guys before we went on air. Because I believe that now that the Naira is even so difficult to get hold of, are you not more prone to accepting monies given to you at this point in time?
Yeah. You could argue that someone who normally would take 1,000 would now accept 500.
Exactly.
That's the other flip side of
so
it. On the other hand, people might say there's no money, so there's no 500. But we've also seen people caught with dollars. So
did you hear about the one of the
evidently
500,000?
you can bribe not just with naira but with foreign
You heard about the
currency.
$500,000 that was found with some
in
Port Harcourt.
Rivers, yes.
Rivers.
So I hear they're even willing to part with $10, $5, $20.
Well, I mean, what we should acknowledge is the fact that the police did their job in Rivers State.
Yes.
That was just one person caught. We don't know how many.
Well, I mean, let's hope that they will continue to do their job. There was another situation in Lagos State where about 32.4 million naira was collected
In old or new currency?
in new currency.
In new currency, but that was not this. This was last week, wasn't it?
No, it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Because I saw Bauer talking about it on the Your View. So I don't know why I assumed it was the week before.
Well, the question that people are asking,
But who was the person that you said 4,000?
that is the question. On the Twitter handle of EFCC, they made the announcement,
Right.
and a good chunk of the question was, who did you arrest?
Did they say when?
Well,
The reason why I'm suspicious that this is not something that happened yesterday is
Okay.
because there is a clip of the EFCC chairman who was a guest on TVC's Your View.
So how come it was yesterday that EFCC announced it?
And I don't know, but that clip, I'm almost certain
Yeah.
was not from yesterday, where he was talking to Moturayo and all of them about this, the fact that they collected these notes,
Yes.
and even saying the good thing about what has happened is they can now know exactly from where the notes came from,
But
because they're new, so they know which bank got what and which one didn't get. Do you
So they
understand?
haven't investigated long enough to find out the results.
A couple of
Days ago.
It's still the same thing.
It's important. It's important
Because it's
that
part of-
I'm not
that
suggesting
an
this.
arrest-
I'm just trying
in
to.
possession of one person.
Yeah.
At a time, Nigerians are looking for the new currency from ATM.
Exactly.
And they are not
Emmanuel,
available.
the follow-up question that people are asking is, why is EFCC a bit silent on the
On
identity?
the identity.
On the identity
Of
of
the
the
person,
suspect.
yes.
Because from what EFCC released, they said the suspect, apparently one person, has been arrested. And people are saying where, how,
Who?
at what point, who exactly. The
they are
same way
valid
that the
questions.
Nigerian police, unveil the identity of the person.
No, but it's not
Reports
just
it
Nigerian
does.
police. The EFCC also has a history of unveiling suspects.
A
Exactly.
tradition.
So it can't even say, oh, that was police.
Exactly.
This is us,
All right, so we'll cross over to Kano now, where Gbenga Shiru is still there to give us the updates about what is happening. That's where the candidate of the NNPP, Rabiu Musa Kwakwanso, will be voting. Gbenga, how are things panning out there in Kano?
Thank you so much, Steve and Ruth. It's been an interesting political pageantry, I must say. We are live at Madobi local government, and this town is called, interestingly, Kwankwaso town in Kano. And this is the hometown of the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria's People's Party. And so, when you talk about Kwakwanso from the fillers here, you talk about one of the most influential power brokers in the north, and you can see the massive turnout of voters to vote in who would be their next president. It's going to be very interesting here, and arguably you can say this is the battleground where election would arguably be decided in terms of the voting population. You are talking about the second largest state that has the PVC center. Kwakwanso being an indigene of this state, it's really going to be very interesting. You can see the massive turnout of voters here, and we understand that they have been here since as early as 6 o'clock, like I told you at the earlier local government where we covered. And we also understand that INEC officials slept over just to make things easier. Accreditation has since started here as early as exactly 8:30 a.m. on the spot. So it's been quite interesting. You can see the turnout of youth, women coming out in their numbers, and the elderly. We can also get a feel of what it's been like right here at Madobi local government in Kwankwaso town. Can you talk to us, please?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So what has it been? How's the experience been in terms of voter accreditation, and what are your expectations?
So thank God, as you can see, we have a lot of people coming out to vote. I can say this election is said to be a kind of special election as compared to the previous ones. As you can see, the election process has been peaceful, and this is the normal thing here. We normally conduct our election peacefully because we take ourselves as brothers and sisters. So as you can see, the process is said to be quite normal.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
So you are hoping to cast your vote anytime from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I should get a clearer picture of what voting looks like, the accreditation process. We'll be going inside to see what it looks like. If you can come along with me, Steve and Ruth. You can see they have been here. Many of them since 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where the accreditation is taking place. You can see it's been largely orderly here. These are the officials from INEC ensuring the accreditation process. Can you take us through this process, please?
Okay, my name is Hashim Nazipi. I'm the presiding officer of Galadima Riga, that's 004. And as you can see, the election process is going well. The people are cooperating. Nobody is trying to hesitate or to make somebody angry about this election that's going on. All I can say is the thing is moving smoothly, and we hope everything can end well.
Yeah, the Kwakwanso polling center is a major polling center in Kano. Like how many PVCs collected in this local government in terms of what to expect from this accreditation process?
So about the total number of people that have voters card in this ward, I never can say because I don't have the actual number of the people that have voter card here, but I can say in this polling unit that I'm working here, we have 816 voters accredited here, and we are doing all our best to see all of them have casted their vote, and we can counted them by God's grace.
So when is voting expected to commence here? Voting proper?
By 8:30.
Okay, 8:30. Voting had already started. That's apart from the accreditation.
Accredited everybody before. Then now we are moving with the election. They have already started casting their vote, as you can see. So by 8:30 a.m. we have started already.
Okay, thank you so much. You can see quite impressive in terms of orderliness and conduct of this election here in Kwakwanso town in Madobi local government. Like I told you, when it comes to electioneering in Kano, the center stage is always set for magnificent exploits in politicking. And we told you earlier that this is also the polling center of the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria's People's Party, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. And when you talk about his personality, he's someone that cultivates a fanatical devotion of his followers, talking about the founder of the Kwakwansia movement in Kano. This is a movement that is very popular in the north. So he's in this race with the top contenders like the PDP presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and the APC presidential candidate Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So you can arguably say that in terms of what to expect from this polling center, that this is indeed the battleground, and this is where the story will be told in terms of where the votes would swing. The major pendulum is right here at the Kwakwanso polling center in Madobi local government. Thank you so much, Steve and Ruth.
All right, Benga, thank you indeed. Thank you very much.
The place is quite airy.
All right, Kajiria. Well, I mean, that's Kano. You know a bit about Kano.
I do.
You know, I mean, a lot of people will say that is Kwakwanso's turf.
It is.
But then Ganduje, Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, is a sitting governor, yes, and is a staunch supporter of Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
So here is, I've always speculated, I wonder what would have happened had Kwankwaso and Obi actually gone through with their
together.
alliance, right? I think they would have been even a more formidable force than what we've got at the moment. There's no doubt the level of fanatical followership that Kwankwaso enjoys in Kano he's almost like a cult figure. You think about him almost like the way Buhari was, President Buhari at one point. So he does no wrong in the eyes of certain people. When he came into Kano, was it yesterday or day before yesterday? People walked him almost, how many 100 kilometers to sort of, and then walked back with his envoy. And it took a long time before they got into town. So I don't normally call elections, but I think Kano is actually going to go to Kwankwaso.
You reckon?
I do.
Okay. Under Ganduje?
No, I think if Ganduje does well for Asiwaju, he will come a very close second. But I don't see how either APC or PDP will take Kano from Kwankwaso.
Okay.